Hey girls, and welcome to the Hey Girl podcast and our final episode of season 1. Can I just say that this has been a crazy ride from May 1st launch date, everything that went into preparing for that date, the interviews that we did, the conversations we had, the stories that we heard, and here we are all the way in October, and I just look back and am amazed at the things that God did. I'm also, I'm not gonna lie, a little overwhelmed at all of the things that have happened in these months since we first started, things that we definitely did not plan on. I like to use the line a lot that there are things within these last months that if I was the author of it all, I might have written it just a little differently. But very grateful for a God who is faithful, and grateful for a God who has, even now in this place, begun to show us beauty from hard things that we have walked through. But before I get too far in, as many of you know, I have my girl Jenn has not been with us for a while. Her and her family are very much in the thick of everything with Charlie and his treatments and all of that. But Jenn sent some words that I want to share with all of you, something that she wanted to pass on to let you guys know. So you can not worry about it. So I'm not talking while you're opening the door. Oh. Okay, so here's what Jenn has for us. First of all, you need to know I put her on the spot, and Jenn likes to process, so this was a lot for her. But here are her words for you. It's so hard to let a dream go. When we started this journey of podcasting, I never would have imagined that I would have to step away, because I've always been that girl that can handle anything, but cancer has broken me. I am tired and broken and so reliant on God to see me through each day, each hard moment. Brokenness and darkness have led me straight to the feet of Jesus, and I can tell you, He is enough. I don't know if or when I'll get to come back to Hey Girl, but I know you fabulous listeners are in the best hands with my amazing girl, Bethany. Love you, sisters. Love her, and having a really hard time holding it together at the beginning of this podcast. Maybe I should have waited to read that till later on. This, and many of you know because we've shared in our Real Talk episodes, this journey has not been an easy one. Since our launch in May, Jenn has been walking this very challenging road with her son Charlie's diagnosis with cancer, and from treatments to surgery and everything in between. And so I know that Jenn would say this if she could, that you will not waste one prayer on her and her family during this time. And just a reminder, if this is news to you, if you're just tuning in now, which, sorry, it's the last episode and it's going to be kind of lame, but just an update. You can go on Facebook to Pray for Sir Charles and keep updated on their journey and everything going on with their family. And just so you're in the know. So especially since we're getting ready to take a break. And so here's what I want to let you know first and foremost, because some of you have already reached out like, no, it can't be over. And can I just say, I love that you feel that way, because I feel that way. So no, Hey Girl is not over. We are just taking a break, and there has been a lot going on. And one of the things I don't even think I've talked about on the podcast yet is that I have recently taken, honestly, kind of a scary step of faith, and have sensed for a while God calling me to step out of my position at the church that I work at. I've been director of student ministries at my church for the last 6 years, have loved my job. I love my students. And this was a really, really hard decision, especially since all that God has really made clear is that it's time for a new season, and that I'm stepping out of my role, but I don't know what's next. And that is terrifying. Just real talk, absolutely terrifying. And I wish that I did know. And right now, my family and I were in this season of prayer and of just really waiting on God to show us what that next step is. But even in the midst of all of that, this is a very good time for us to take a break and to get quiet. I was listening to someone earlier today talking about this idea of silencing the other voices around us and really listening for God's voice in seasons where we just really need him to speak. And that's where I'm at right now. I just really want to hear God speak. And so we're going to step away. But our plan is to launch in January, to be right back with another group of incredible women for a second season. We're so excited. We would love, if you have women you want to nominate to be on our podcast, reach out through Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Let us know. We're definitely taking names right now and mapping out kind of this next season. Really excited for the names we have already. Excited to share their stories. But can I just tell you that for this episode, I actually have my all-time favorite guest. And I know that is bold to say with everyone that I've had on this podcast. I don't want anyone to walk away offended, but you have to understand this guest is literally my favorite human being. And here's the deal. It has been said that Hey Girl's worst kept secret is the secret of who is our producer. And I know the problem was we were trying to just say producer, and then every once in a while we let it slip and we told you who it was. So I thought, who better to bring on for this last episode to kind of remember and look back than the one who has literally listened to every episode so many times he probably has lost count. You know what? I feel like he deserves a trophy, but I want to introduce you, guys and gals, to my husband and the Hey Girl producer, Andy Needham. Hey.
Is it like, I was gonna say Hey Girl, but it's like, is this like Hey Girl Nation, or do we have like a phrase for the
Hey Girl Nation? I like that. Yes. You know what? We're starting it now.
Okay, there you go. My first contribution. I've contributed nothing else to this.
Yes. Could you seriously pick up some slack?
Okay.
You're really dead weight in this ministry.
It's okay. I just hear the theme song in my sleep. That's all, you know.
Oh man. I have to say, I have a question. I know that you have some questions for me, but I have a couple questions for you. And this is our personalities, right? I'm on the fly. You're
taking control of the situation.
Yes. So
I made a plan, and then you changed the plan. That is
yes.
Okay.
That basically,
just so we're clear.
That basically represents our marriage. No, I was going to say that I'm going on the fly, and you have a notebook and notes on your phone. So I'm very impressed by you. But I do have a question for you. What is it? Because this has been burning in my mind. How do you manage to edit podcasts where your wife speaks like a lot, like my voice is just repeating over and over in your head, and still actually have real life conversations with me? This is a safe place. You can...
I don't have a great answer for that question. I don't know. I mean, I do recall the first time you guys, because you guys never, like, I think I did, like, this is the end of the microphone you talk into, this is how you plug it into a computer. Like, that was the first part of this. I do recall, like, the first couple episodes talking to you guys, because both of you are active, you and Jen are active listeners.
Oh, yeah.
And some of you listeners might have heard, I mean, my editing skills can only go so far, but all the uh-huhs and that stuff that goes up.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
It was a little much. So I had to be like, okay, take that down from it's like 90% less.
Oh, I kind of forgot until you just said that. Yeah, Jen and I are okay, people who don't do podcasts, it's hard to understand, but when you're looking at someone and they're telling you a story, it is super hard not to, like, to be engaged, because otherwise you just feel like a jerk. You're just staring at them awkwardly.
Or a professional. That's okay.
Jerk or a professional, or both.
No, it's okay. No, that's a huge thing. I mean, I think you guys got better at that over time. That was good. There was a little bit, the editing... there was a few hiccups along the way, but yeah, the editing overall got a little easier. There were fewer ums and ahs, and
very true. All right,
10,000 down to like 5,000.
You guys have to know that Andy mentioned coming on that one of the things he was most insecure about wasn't being a dude on the Hey Girl podcast, because let's be real, my brother already paved the way, but was having to listen back to how many ums and uhs he says. So he's hyper aware of those words in his own vocabulary right now. So I'm counting them in my head.
They'll never know I'll edit them out. So that's fine.
But I will. All right.
Know. So now can I take it to the plan now? Is it okay?
I would like to submit to your authority.
Okay, well, all right. Well, that's another.
Where's my head?
It's another podcast. Okay. I have some questions, and I have some sort of I don't know, we'll call them the Hey Girl Awards, maybe we'll give out.
Oh, I like that.
At best a mug, because that's all we have. So
Hey Girl Nation, Hey Girl Awards.
Okay, so let's start off with a really easy one. Other than my appearance, what do you say? Best male guest.
Oh, goodness. This one's hard because, I mean, literally 100% of my male guests I've just loved. But I'm going to have to throw this one to Nathaniel Blevins, my brother, who, if you have not listened to his episode, you need to go back and listen to it, because when we chose to have him on, that was a little bit of a controversy between you and I. We weren't sure. And honestly, it's a big deal. We're putting a guy on a girl's podcast, but...
Like the Boy Scouts.
Wow.
No, just
got real controversial. You're going to edit yourself on that one. Edit. Now you get to say it. Say, sorry, producer.
I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. But no, he did amazing, and I still get feedback on his story. So he, by far, best male guest.
All right, so the second thing is, now there was a lot of mornings, usually I did editing early in the morning, that I would come in and I would be like, now, are you sure that you want that in the podcast?
And I'd say, yeah.
And I'd be like, are you real? I mean, are you just saying that to me? So there'll be some things that will never hit the airwaves, and some that did, which probably the listeners were kind of surprised that we left in there.
Are you going to let me say some of the things you edited
out?
No,
I'm not going to.
Oh, man.
No.
There's one I felt like...
I still have a ministry job.
In a little while, I don't work at a church anymore. I can just say it.
All right, but anyway, so this is the category of most TMI.
Oh, okay, that's good. Well, there's one story that comes to mind that I felt totally comfortable putting it out there. Though I will admit, going into this particular interview, I did not plan on going there, and I feel like my nerves kind of were when I get nervous, I talk more. It's a problem. And so when we were interviewing Lori Brown Harris, and I was fangirling.
Yeah. Why don't we just play it?
Oh, okay.
Here it is.
Okay, this is a question we ask all our guests. What's the most superficial thing about you?
I don't know.
This is a question that says, let's be real, sisters. Yeah. We all have that stuff. That is not
I wax. I bought one of those like a Brazilian wax kit. I don't do that.
Okay.
But that's what it's called, just
okay.
So you know. And I heat it up. I do my eyebrows and my legs and my bikini area. It's
girlfriend,
awesome.
You wax yourself? Wow. I'm
just
impressed.
Once a month. Yeah, once a month. It lasts me that long.
Wow. Yes. Okay, Andy's going to edit this out, but you want to know my wax story? This is one of my faves. Okay, so I decided to go and do the whole wax thing. No. And I made an appointment, and I'm like, if I'm going to pay money, it's going to be a Brazilian wax. It's go big or go home. So I did what they said to do, like got a drink, went, had it done. And first of all, like, ladies, if you're thinking about this, have an ice pack ready, because ouch. But I was like, why haven't I done this my whole life? Like, summer was so much easier. And so I kept going back. And this is where it gets weird. I started to get to know my lady, which feels really awkward when you're like, it's basically like becoming BFFs with your gynecologist. Like, who does that? But I figured she knew me better than anyone at that point. Yeah. And one time she got to talking about she got talking about like something she was going through in her life. And like before I could like shut my mouth, the pastoral side came out, and I just start like sharing with her about Jesus. Like, just picture the scene. I'm not going to draw it out for you. No, please don't. But I invited her to something at our church, and which I know it sounds great, but like seriously. And then after she comes in, she's like, "Hey, you know what? I think I'm going to come. Yeah, I'm definitely going to come." And as I'm driving home, this is the worst. This is a confession time for me. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to introduce this woman to people in my church? Like, 'cause that's going to be the question, right? Like, oh, how do you know her? You can't. How do you do that? I don't know. And so I must confess, I avoided that question. Like, I didn't want people to know I knew her because I didn't want to. And now I just told the world. Yep. Darn it. But
I hope that's not edited out. That's a
Love it. Okay, so I feel like I should be able to tell people your edit.
No. On to the next category.
And the best part is they're like, really?
There was a particular word, a slang word in reference to female anatomy that I don't know that would have, if this was on the radio, would have been bleeped.
No, we wouldn't.
Yes, it would have. Anyway, maybe it's worse
than it was bleep.
No, okay.
Just kidding.
Here nor there.
That was not.
Okay. All right. God. So anyway, let's go. Speaking of laughter, let's talk about. I have to say, one of the things that I grew to love in the early part of the podcast is something that I already loved before the podcast, but then I get to listen to it a lot. Is the best laugh, which is your co-host Jen, because Jen Jen has a laugh that is just amazing. It's unbelievable.
We talked about making a Jen laugh button. Did you ever get that?
No.
Where we were going to record her laugh and then have a button that during episodes, if she didn't laugh, I could just, especially with her gone, I need that button because...
All right, season 2, we'll work on it.
I miss her laugh.
Okay, well, that's...
I think the Hey Girl Nation misses her laugh.
I agree.
So, I'm just to admit those words. I was like, I don't know if you just know you said that out loud.
All right, and then on the laughter theme as we continue, the episode with the most laughter, which I think is pretty obvious.
Oh, Katrina Stevens. Guys.
It was probably like 50% content and 50% you guys.
I tell people the episode with Katrina and I is as close as you can get to if you were just to sit with us and let us have a conversation and you were like a fly on the wall. That was that episode through and through. And my favorite part, if I can pull...
Oh, we need to play it.
Oh.
Yes.
All right.
Why are you disappointed by that?
I'm not. I really hope that they enjoy it, and I hope this quote continues to haunt Katrina.
We'll make t-shirts.
Yes.
We moved on to Mexico, and I didn't expect us to end up there after our school. And we did. We went to Panama and Costa Rica, worked there for a little bit. And when we came back, my husband was like, I really feel like God's calling us to stay in Mexico. And I told him, I'm really feeling like this is not Africa. So God is not bad at geology.
That would be geography.
Or geography. Or English.
This so much gold, Katrina, so much.
You got better grades than I did in school, obviously.
And then we went back to school.
Because I apparently needed it.
Clearly I slept through some of my classes.
I almost said geometry and I changed it to geology as I was saying it.
Geo something.
That's geo.
All right. Well, that is California public school education at its finest.
Oh, harsh.
Yeah, we love Katrina.
I love that she said after her episode release how many people come up to her. It's just they're like geology.
Geology. Yes.
It's fantastic.
So we're gonna pivoting. Oh, I said an There you go. See that? Should I leave it or edit out? I don't know.
Well, I'm keeping count, so.
Okay. Pivoting hard in the other direction. One of the things that was, I mean, I knew getting into this with a girls' podcast that it would be a little emotional at times.
We like to feel our feelings.
Yeah, like we get messages on Facebook that people had to like pull over on the side of the road.
We didn't cause any car accidents that we're aware of.
Not that we're aware of. I mean, a lot of the episodes had some really poignant moments. It was actually really, candidly, awesome that this platform allowed people to be really authentic about some hard things, which is part of what the whole goal of it was, for sure.
Did you ever choke up? Tell the truth. This is a safe place.
It's early in the morning. I mean, no one needs to know.
All right. That's good enough. Good enough.
That's fine. Okay. Yeah. I'll pull it back together. So, in your opinion, like with that side of things, was there one that cut? I mean, there's a lot that were powerful. So I think all of them had moments like that. Others kind of went heavy in different ways, and heavy not being a bad thing, but really a powerful thing. But in terms of tears, in terms of that element, what would you say were one, maybe two at the top?
So this one is a hard one. Actually, you know what? I have two that come to mind right away, which if I sat here and thought about it, there'd probably be a whole lot. But one of the ones is in Hannah Larson's episode. She shared about the young man that came out of lockout, basically didn't have a safe place to go, went back home, and they found out that he was killed. And that story wrecked me. That was incredibly powerful. The other one this one messed me up. This is the one I think we got actually the message that someone had to pull over. They were crying so hard, so I'm not the only one. But Heidi Parks, who I love so dearly, shared in her story about Isaac's diagnosis and kind of that journey. And that was so incredibly powerful, and her vulnerability and just the things that she walked through in that, I'm still like, I'm on the verge of choking up just thinking back. But that one in particular just sat with me for a really long time. So those would be my two.
Can I give you mine?
Oh, you have? Yes.
Yeah. No, so I think those two are powerful. I think in terms of just moments where I was listening and I just thought like the bravery of kind of going there. And there's a lot of them, honestly. But I thought of Tori's story for sure. I mean, I don't think any of us want, like, it's everybody's worst nightmare to walk through what she walked through, but for her to speak of it with such candor and such, I don't know, authenticity, and that was amazing. And then the other one was Ashley Hogue, who, yeah, I mean, I think it was interesting because we talked about that interview afterwards, and you talked about how, like, you weren't really, Ashley's one that, I mean, we are friends with them, but we haven't known them for a long time, and weren't really sure, knew that was part of her story, but wasn't sure if where she was going to go with it. And she really just, I don't know, even just the real emotions about the family connections and all those things. I thought that was just, even as a guy, for me to hear what a victim of sexual abuse, how they process that, how they think about it, was eye-opening. It was actually, I thought it was really like helpful to me just to hear that. So anyway, those were two. So
yeah, I
mean, again, among many others, I mean, there's a lot. We had, friends and family that shared some pretty powerful things as well. So yeah. Even though I will always remember Ashley's episode for being the one that was also recorded in a wind tunnel and produced the most difficult editing, but that's okay.
My bad.
I don't hold grudges. I just have a long memory.
Love it.
All right. So a couple other moments in this that have come up as we've talked to people a lot. Where one of those was in Jody's episode of the interview, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And a particular quote, maybe you could talk about that. Do you know what I'm referring to?
You talk about where she talks about don't edit out your, yeah. I think we should play that clip from that one and let them listen. And honestly, ladies, if you didn't listen to the episode, go back and listen because it's a powerful episode. So
just to set it up, Jody is sharing the story about starting a youth center in Canada. It's an amazing journey of faith. And she's going to, I think it's the mayor of the town or some, it's a city official, and asking, kind of presenting their vision that they have united some churches behind, but still it's kind of a law, it's a dream. And that's kind of sets the clip up, but here's the clip.
So I went in and met with our mayor, and he was kind of, like, you're just skeptical, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone that goes to town council meets with the mayor wants something usually.
Oh, yeah.
And so finally, when he was convinced we didn't want anything, he looked at me and he said, well, if we as the town provide you guys with a space, would you run a youth center for our town?
What?
I'm not even kidding you. I had not said a word to him. I was like, yes. And I told him, I just overflowed out of my heart. I'm like, you have no idea. Like, this is what we've been praying about. And this is what we've been meeting about and talking about. Now, he was not a Christian, but something the Lord put on our hearts very early on was don't spiritually edit your stories. Even talking to unbelievers or anything, like,
I love that.
If you take me out, he's like, do you think you're going to get more money by taking me out of this? Do you think you're going to, like, have doors open because you take me out? Like, you don't have a story without me. And he just so convinced us of that. So we just didn't spiritually edit. And so I'm like overflowing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we've been praying about this and this church and that church and this is what God's been doing. And he goes, well, do you think you'd be able to make a presentation to town council? I said, yes. And he goes, well, we're meeting in 15 minutes.
Oh.
So it's like, okay.
So good.
I know.
And that line has come back again and again as I've had conversations and thought about when I'm meeting or talking with non-believers, even about what I do for work, or when people ask, like, oh my word, you have a podcast? And to not spiritually edit my stories, to not rob God of what he's able to do through that, and not feel like I have to, like, make it, what would you say, not socially acceptable, but so it wouldn't offend anyone, as though I'm trying to protect them. I don't know. That was one that was almost haunting after, to just really, in a good way, to remember, you know what? We need to be aware of that we're Christ's ambassadors everywhere that we go. And in order to represent him, we definitely need to be talking about it. So
I thought the other thing that I was just going to mention in moments, and obviously this is still a story that's going on, but I just thought, I mean, I've been so proud of Jenn and Ben through their entire journey. And even though I know they're weary and they don't feel strong, I just have a lot of respect for the way that Jenn has been real about it, and even taking a break, like knowing that, okay, this is something I love that I can't do right now, which is fine. I think obviously we lost some great banter and you guys are a great team, but I just want to say that I really thought that there are moments, and I don't remember if this was on a Facebook post or even in one of the podcast episodes, but just talking about how sorrow and joy can commingle and flow together at the same time. And that's been a powerful thing. So I was going to ask you a couple questions. This is kind of a big picture one, but when you started this, you kind of had some ideas what this would be. What were some of the biggest surprises that you would say along the way that you didn't realize? Like maybe something you enjoyed or something that happened that you didn't think was going to happen? Any ideas on that way? That people listen to it? I don't know.
That actually was going to be my first one. That people, I know it sounds dumb, but that people listen to it was actually a little bit of a surprise. Not that, like, anyone. I thought
your mom was going to listen.
Right. So. Like, my mom's got me. I don't even know if she listens. Mom, do you listen? But just how many people and the connections, when we started getting messages from people that we don't already have relationship with, that was mind-blowing. Like, wait, how do you know anything about this podcast? And I would say the other thing, and this will sound, I don't know, it sounds kind of bad, but the other thing that surprised me is how much I love interviewing people, like doing this, collecting stories, listening to stories. I wasn't sure going in. Honestly, Jenn was a big reason this even happened. She really believed in it much more. You and Jenn believed in this idea so much more than I did at the beginning. Not because I was like, it's a dumb idea, but I just couldn't quite figure out, because I wasn't familiar with podcasts. Like, what are we doing exactly? And now it's
when you say you weren't familiar with I listen to a lot of podcasts. Jenn listens to a lot of podcasts. Like, we're talking like Jenn's like, here is how you listen. It's like Jenn had to tell you, like, this is how you get a podcast, and here's something you had to listen to.
Our tutorial videos, the best part is I needed one of those when we started. And if you're a podcast listener, you know there's all different kinds. Yep. And so, like, no offense, babe, but some of the ones you listen to, I'm like, I don't want to do that kind of a podcast. Like, I have nothing to say. And I don't think I could ever do a straight up, like, I'm just talking the whole time and teaching kind of podcast. But interviewing and in telling people stories, especially stories that wouldn't normally be heard, is something that I've just grown to be very passionate about, especially since I would say a major percentage of women that I interviewed, their response was like, I have no idea why you're interviewing me, or I don't even know what God's going to do with this. And I got to the point at the end where I was so overly confident for them. Like, believe me, I've done enough of these now to know that you may think I don't have a story to tell, but your story, with God's glory, he's going to use it, and it's going to touch lives, and there will be women and guys who will respond. And every single time, without fail, God took a story, even the ones that people are like, there's nothing to my story. So that's what makes me excited about season 2, is it's a whole nother round of stories, and I cannot wait.
I think that's been a thing that has been, obviously I'm not the target demographic for this podcast, but the relatability, it does connect to something that I really do believe in the ministry that I run, which is that we don't just need experts to tell us, the qualification for having the ability to teach somebody something through the story that God's written in your life and the gifts that he's given you is not that you wrote a book. Obviously that's great. I should be careful because our last guest was an author, but
I got an author,
no, which is great. But that's someone we knew, and not to say, in the future we probably will have some people on the podcast that are authors, and I think that what we don't want to do is, it's not about the size of your platform. It's not about, if your platform is big, that doesn't disqualify you. If your platform is literally your children at home, that doesn't disqualify you. If you're single, that doesn't disqualify. I think that's been a huge thing in this. It's really not about the trappings. And even when you've interviewed, what you would have called the bigger interviews of it's not about like, oh, just tell us the spiel about your book or the thing that you do. It's like, no, what's life really look like on the ground level of your life? Yeah. And I think that's really awesome. We've talked about, as we have future guests, that like, let's not just talk to them about the book they wrote, but let's talk about like what they did last Tuesday, So, yeah. So anyway, that was my first question. And then it was interesting. I was talking to somebody today at our church who listens, a regular listener. And she's asked me, she says, does Bethany go into this knowing what these people are going to say? And I was like, well, I think usually we kind of know some of the story, but so I was thinking like, what were some of the bigger surprise? I don't know if this is putting you on the spot, but was there one or two things you can think of in this where you're like, that just took a turn. Like, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. So first of all, because whomever you're talking to is probably listening, I will say, and I say this to actually the people that I interview, the very beginning. So we have a list of questions, but I would always tell them, I'm going to follow your story, kind of like, think of me more as a reporter. So as you talk, my questions are really going to come based on what you say. And so I don't want to narrow down and give you these like solid questions, because if that's not where your story's going, I don't want to bring it. And so doing it that way is terrifying because definitely the second half, like at the beginning, because we didn't know what we were doing, we went safe as far as let's get people that we love and love us and are going to be gracious. So we knew a lot of the story. So first episodes, we kind of knew where we were going. And to me, that was a little less scary. But then when we started getting names, I'm like, I'm sitting down with this woman. I know nothing about her story, and I am just following the story. And I always tell women, like, if I ask a question, we go somewhere you're not comfortable, then just tell me. Like, I'm not about just let's put all your garbage out there. And like, so a couple of them. So Ashley Hogue, you mentioned her. I did not know about that abuse situation. And I even said it, I want to say in the interview, I was like, okay, that was really heavy. And that was a moment for me as an interviewer where I was like, okay, I want to be ever so careful. Like, how do I walk through this? Because I don't just think about the person I'm sitting across from. I think about the thousands of listeners that are going to be listening to this story, who this is their story. Like, how do we tell this story in the right way? And so Ashley was absolutely one of those. Ironically, the Ashleys have it, because another more recent episode, Ashley McKechnie, I did not know her stories of her stays in mental institutions, but then her attempt on her life. I didn't know that she walked through that suicide attempt. That's heavy stuff. There is just this humble, like terrifying awareness when I'm talking to these people. It feels like they're gifting me with something, and that I have stewardship in that moment over what am I going to do with this now? And so when people share things like that, like this went on, I tried to take my life. I was these really intimate things, even my mom's story, like the stuff my mom shared about, I definitely don't take that lightly, but sometimes in the moment, and you may hear it in my tone, I'm just like, whoo. Yeah. And it's not because I'm judging their story. It's the weight of what's just been laid out there. Like the responsibility of that. I feel responsible for how we represent that story. So
I think though that there's been now, I mean, most of the people that come on your podcast have already listened to it, and it's neat that the people that went first, or powerful and neat is probably not even a strong enough word. It's powerful that the people who kind of went through this first really built the safety of the platform to say, hey, this is a place where you can be real. Like you can,
yeah.
And I think it's that we use that quote all the time, which is not original to us, but it's okay to not be okay, but you don't have to stay there. It's kind of that idea that I think is a lot, close to the heart of this, and sort of demystifying. And we've had messages from people when you've gotten into topics like depression, when you get into topics like mental illness and some of these things that the church just doesn't necessarily, maybe Sunday morning, maybe it should be talked about, but it's not going to be an hour unpacking someone's story like a podcast is. And this has created an avenue for people. I mean, you've had notes from people that have said, I've never heard another Christian talk about this thing that I'm going through.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And I think that's a huge gift that this has been to people. So I'm excited. I mean, that's a thing to be grateful for sure. So,
and obviously to God be the glory, but I just pause and thanks to every guest we have ever had on here, because there's a lot of courage that it takes to share the way that every single guest just opened up and shared their story. And I'm grateful for that, because God's used it. But every single one of them had that choice to make. They got in front of a microphone, and it just never ceased to amaze me when they started telling their story, just the incredible, powerful openness that they had. It just blows me away.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. So those are my questions. That's my whole plan, my whole strategy. I don't know if you have other things you really want to talk about, but I thought it was great. I mean, I think this was a fun first season. It's amazing that people listen. I mean, I had no idea one, how to edit a podcast other than like GarageBand. And
you did awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, you did great. You were very patient.
Oh, thanks. I get best producer of the game.
I would like to hand out our last award, best producer.
And then it was interesting though, like, and not to toot the horn of the podcast, but to talk to other friends who are in this space that do podcasts, who I learned a lot from. I'd call them, we don't know what to do about this. Who should host the podcast? All that kind of question. And to find, man, when we started even talking about how many people were listening and downloading, like, not to say that this is the biggest podcast in the world, but to realize like there are thousands of people that listen to this, and
that's crazy.
Amazing. It is crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah. So
I do not have that many friends.
I know your mom just hits repeat, download. How many devices? How many iPads does she have?
I love you, Mom. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, thank you to our listeners. This season has been above and beyond all of our dreams. And though we are definitely praying that Jenn will be able to jump back in, regardless of what that looks like, come January, we're going to be launching with a second season. So excited.
So I have two things I want to mention to you. One is something that we're definitely doing, and one's an idea that we've had that I'm going to put you on the spot to talk about. So let's go with the one we know we're doing for sure, which is that in November 18th, what's happening?
Simply Beautiful.
That's right.
What? Yeah, if you are local, even if you're not, get on an airplane. It's worth it. We have a 1 day, it's a teen girls conference, but we have things for teen girls, for moms, for mentors, which honestly, even if you're not a teen girl.
Just find one, kidnap them, bring them to
No, that's a felony.
Your family would know.
And then I'll interview you and ask you about your jail time. But no, you should be mentoring people in your life if you're a young woman, influencing women around you. And so this is an awesome conference. I get to speak for the main sessions, but we just have so many voices of women that we have gotten to know that have been brought to us with different...
There's some Hey Girl interviews that are going to be there, which is awesome.
That's right. You get to meet some of our guests face to face. That'll be pretty epic.
I love that. A lot of the people that come to this conference too, it's not like they're bringing a van full of people, though some do. So you can bring a bus full. That's fine with us. But a lot of it's like a mom and one girl, or a girl, someone who's mentoring a teen girl, and they just come, and that's awesome. One
of my favorites was a lady that brought her niece, and that was like, she's like, this is the one teen girl that I have, a pretty tight relationship with. This mom does not have any teen girls of her own, but I just thought that was such a cool connection for her to bring her niece and enjoy the day. I think it's awesome. So yeah, join us in November. You need to register.
Yeah, so simplybeautifulconference.org is where you go to find that, or you can go to heygirlpodcast.com. Whatever it is, just Google Hey Girl Podcast.
That one.
I should know that, but the other thing that I'm going to put you on the spot for is an idea that I just want our listeners to give us feedback on.
I'm a little nervous about what you're about to say.
No, this is something we talked about just the other day when we were visiting some friends.
About shaving my head?
No.
Just kidding. Oh, I already did that.
The idea of doing a Hey Girl dinner.
Oh.
Like a Hey Girl table, or whatever. I don't know what we're going to call it yet. But doing a really nice meal where we would bring some of the, maybe 2 or 3 of the interviewees. And when we say nice meal, we're talking like...
Mm-hmm. As in, I'm not cooking. That's what we're talking.
It's not going to be DiGiorno's or ramen. No.
Oh, I make a mean
So tell us this idea. And then what we want to do is, if you think it's a good idea, like you'd actually do it. And it will cost money. So you realize that we're not feeding you for free, because we already do this podcast for free. But what would it look like? Like, what's your idea?
All right. Well, the idea, which I did not know we were making public, so here goes nothing, would be to have an evening where we would sell. It'd have to be a ticketed dinner, because there definitely would be it's an intimate affair. Yeah. Like a dozen women around a table kind of thing. And so I would be there. We would bring a couple of your favorite guests who could also just share like a devotional, words of encouragement, and just enjoy a really nice meal together, be together as women, for us to get the chance to just encourage you, I love that sort of thing with girlfriends, and I would love to be really intentional in this community. And I know a lot of you live probably crazy far away, but some of you live within the New England area. It's not too far to drive to this area, which is like the Worcester, Westboro, that kind of area. I don't know. I'd love to know what you think. I think I have a friend that her gift is
Hospitality. Yeah.
Hospitality, making beautiful tables. And yeah, I just think she would...
It's like Pinterest come to life, basically.
Oh my word. She makes Pinterest look dumb. That's what she does. She makes Pinterest look lame.
Yeah.
So, but no, I think it'd be awesome. But
so what we basically are asking is, that's just an idea. And we could do it, though. We could do it early next year. And we just need to know if people would actually come to it, because it would be a lot of food to prepare and we would want people to come. So that's basically
that'd be important.
It'd be tough if no one came.
I mean, I'm fine with eating all the food.
That's fine. That's right. We'll have you and I will have a nice dinner.
Date night.
So yeah, those are two of the things that people can do to kind of stay engaged. And we're gonna be back in January.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, I'll be back in my seat behind the curtain and without the microphone.
But if Jen's not back, then
we'll
boy,
see.
You on.
We'll do like Hey Marriage or I don't know.
Hey.
It's a different podcast.
We're going to co-host the Hey Girl.
We have enough dysfunction.
You think that Andy Needham should be my fill-in co-host?
No.
Right in.
No, don't write it down.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Do not do that.
All right, ladies. Here's the deal. It's our last episode. We've kind of talked through some of our favorites, hopefully giving you some clips to enjoy. But I want to encourage you, if you have not already listened to all the episodes, this is your chance. Go back, catch up. There is not one episode that I'm like, yeah, skip that one. They're all fantastic and all very different, and I love that. And if you're already caught up, maybe go back and pick some faves over this next few months. Or just like us, enjoy this nice break, the holidays, your family, everything that comes with that. And we so look forward to meeting you back here in January. You'll be hearing from us towards the end of December. We'll get ready, start amping up to our January launch. It's going to be a good time. But yeah, so for me and the producer.
See, it's perfect. This is good timing because now they have This Is Us to make them cry every week instead of your podcast. So.
Oh, seriously, girlfriends, go watch This Is Us and have a good cry. We love you. We're grateful for you. And as always, keep running your race in your place. Bye, girls. Nailed it! Yeah! Yeah, we did. I don't know how to stop this thing.
All right.
I'm gonna do that.